There is a ton of amazing Nintendo franchises to discover. You have Mario for your platforming goodness. You have Zelda for a more intricate adventure filled with puzzles and medieval combat. You have Metroid that takes you to a mysterious labyrinth of an alien world. And each one of these games is special in their own way. Yet this is only scratching the surface of what Nintendo has to offer in their deep catalog of games. They are without a doubt one of the most beloved brand names in the entire world for a very, very good reason. But for everything that they're known for, mature rated games is not one of them. In fact, since 1983, they've only released one mature rated game, Emio the Smiling Man. This is the newest entry in their long-forgotten Famicom Detective Club series, and this game is everything that you wouldn't expect from Nintendo. Nintendo isn't known for their storytelling, and they're certainly not known for horror experiences. Yet dare I say that Emio the Smiling Man might actually be Nintendo's best game that nobody's talking about, because depending on what you're looking for, it very much is. Now, a lot of Nintendo fans will immediately recognize Emio from Nintendo's brilliant marketing campaign. They kicked off its marketing with one of the most mysterious teasers, and it did exactly what it needed to. It got people asking about who Emio the Smiling Man is. The initial speculation for its teaser was absolutely wild. But when they eventually revealed that it's yet another entry in their long-running mystery detective visual novel series, Famicom Detective Club, a lot of people immediately wrote it off. And I think that is such a massive mistake if you like good stories and if you like well-written characters. I mean, I can't even convey how this game made me feel. It went above and beyond my expectations. Its story, its villain, and its characters are beautifully and masterfully written. I mean, this honestly might be one of the best written games of really all time. I mean, at the very least here, I'd easily say that is Nintendo's best. On the surface, Emio the Smiling Man is about a serial murder case. You play as a couple of young 19-year-old detectives that takes on a case that resembles an urban legend about a man who wears a smiling paper bag. And at night, he'll approach young, crying girls and he'll give them a forever smile by strangling them and placing a smiling paper bag over their head. It's extremely dark, and as you uncover its mystery, this really just has to be one of the best written villains that I've ever had the privilege to witness. And despite Emio's darker setting, Nintendo's Yoshio Sakamoto, who's most known for the Metroid series, brilliantly weaves in a form of lightheartedness. His characters slice through the darkness, and you'll really feel a connection with them and their personalities. By the end of its 10-hour-plus story, and as I started to say goodbye to his characters, I genuinely felt a sense of sadness, and, I just kind of thought to myself, will we ever get a chance to see these characters again? Because honestly, it would be a shame if we don't. I mean, there's no guarantee that we will, considering this is a smaller series for Nintendo. The fact that we got this game at all is kind of surprising to some extent. But that is something that I think is important to understand for anybody who wants to try Emio. This is not like a lot of other Nintendo games that focuses strictly on gameplay. If that's what you're expecting, this is not the game for you. This is a text-based, story-first experience. It's more similar to a book or even an anime. But if that's something that you like, or if you just want a good story in a video game, then I can assure you that Emio is flat out amazing. Now, even though this is a visual novel experience, you will still have some control over your characters as you direct their dialogue, and I do think that this kind of helps make the experience even more immersive than what it already is. You'll then start to think like a true detective, and you'll deduce different theories from the many conversations and the interactions that you have with different people. You'll suddenly start to suspect anybody and everybody because that's your job. You are the detective. Now, it is mostly a linear experience, but that also kind of means that you're never detracted from the overarching story, which is really the highlight of this game. And that is something that really struck me about Emio the Smiling Man. It can be slow-paced at times, and I think that could possibly be a turnoff for certain people. But even the most trivial encounters can be significant in the overarching case. It expects you to pay close attention to those minute details, and when it circles around, it hits you with an emotional ton of bricks. This is a game that can make you feel happiness, sadness, frustration, just a little bit of everything sprinkled in, and that's because of how masterfully well it's written. Now, I'm not going to give any spoilers away, but what I will say is that when the credits roll, it will give you an option to watch an epilogue, and you 100% need to do that because it explains everything that you spent your time on and it investigated throughout the entire game. And I mean, it just leaves you speechless. Again, I keep using this word, but they masterfully weaved everything together. And I mean, the game is already enjoyable as is, but a lot of times, a game's ending can almost ruin the overall experience if it's done poorly. I think in the case of Emio, though, it's the exact opposite. It takes an already great game, and it then elevates it to this whole new level. Its story becomes a work of art, fitting of a timeless tale. This was the moment that I realized this truly is one of the best stories in all of gaming. And honestly, I want to talk about it with you all because I would love to hear people's opinions about the ending. But I'm not going to do that because of spoilers. So you all should refrain from doing that as well. But just understand that even though Emio can, yes, be slow-paced at times, the payoff is more than worth it. Basically, they expect you to slowly peel its layers away. And with each layer, it only becomes more engaging, more thrilling, and even spookier. And that's the other thing about Emio. Despite this being a dark, mature-rated game, it still has that Nintendo charm to it. Again, you really come to enjoy the different personalities for each character and how you form relationships with them. And the fact they managed to do all that while still putting together this very dark mystery, I mean, it definitely earned its mature rating. I'll go and say that right now. But I just have to applaud them and how they managed to combine the two different moods so perfectly. I don't think that Emio would have been nearly as good if they just made it depressing the entire way through. They put a lot of work into making the characters fun, and it becomes this balancing act of darkness and humor. And I think that's one of the reasons that it's so special. You're not simply just interested in the mystery and the case itself like you are in other stories, but you're also genuinely interested in the characters and their lives. And that's also exactly why I want Nintendo to continue with this series. I want to see more from these characters and how they grow over time. I think there's just still so much more potential for the Famicom Detective Club games. And that is something that I need to mention. Not only did I play Emio the Smiling Man, but I also played its 2 remakes these past 2 months as well. So they're still very fresh in my mind, and what I can say here is that all of them are very well written. But Emio is by far the best overall entry. The villain was fantastic, the mystery was engaging, its characters were likable, and it was also the most streamlined of the 3. In past entries, it often became a guessing game as to what to do next. Do you ask a question? Do you travel here? Do you look here? Do you quit the investigation? And they were just so obtuse to the point that progress was a little frustrating. But that's really not the case in Emio. The answers are much more logical and simplified. And unlike the other 2 games, I never got stuck on Emio for more than a couple of seconds. It was more like reading a book with no slowdown. And just like a good book with great characters, I fully believe that this could be a long-running series for Nintendo, in the same way that Ace Attorney is for Capcom. Despite how beautiful these games are, they're not super expensive to make, and if they can consistently put out high-quality experiences like this, then I think the possibilities are endless for this series. So suffice to say, I absolutely love Emio the Smiling Man. It's not something that everybody will necessarily enjoy. You need to specifically want a good story first and foremost. But if that's something that you're looking for, I can't recommend it enough. This has been one of my highlights of the year. It's been one of the best surprises of the year, and it very well might be one of my favorite stories in all of gaming. I really hope that Nintendo continues this series, but even if they don't, I am thankful that we got this game at the very least because it's going to stick with me for a long, long time coming. So in my opinion, This game is definitely worth its asking price. I'm going to go ahead and give it a 9.5 out of 10.